What is up? What is going on, everybody? I am back with the Mariners post game recap. The Mariners lose 2-0 to the Texas Rangers. The AL West starting to slip away a little bit. Before I get into it, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. If I still get about 40% of the views are from people non-subscribed. So if you are watching these and enjoying, if you can just hit that sub button for me, it really does help me out. I'd love to get to 2,500 before the end of the season. And quite honestly, the season may be over sooner than we hope. So hit that button for me. And then hit that like button for me. Just helps out tremendously. I want to say to all of you, thank you. Because no matter what happens this season, this has been one of the most fulfilling sports seasons for me. And it's because of all of you. I'm blown away that I have 2,315 subscribers that my channel's actually gotten. And I know for some people that is absolutely nothing in terms of subs, but for me, it means a lot. And the comments, the engagement that you guys bring, my like to dislike ratio is really high. That means a lot to me for videos. So thank you all, because you guys have made the season special for me, no matter what happens. So a lot of my optimism comes from that. So and that's every single one of you. And even if we don't listen, we may not all agree on every way this team should maneuver and win baseball games, but we all have one thing in common. We want this team to succeed and go to a World Series and give us that ultimate euphoria. And they lost today 2-0. So let's get into it. But seriously, thank all of you. Listen, the title sums it up. The Mariners had some bad luck today. They absolutely did. They gave up a couple bloopy hits that dropped in, and they had some line drives that did not fall in. If you look at Baseball Savant, the expected batting averages was about 298 for the Mariners and 212 for the Rangers. Based on exit velos and everything, the Mariners should have probably won this game, but guys, that's baseball sometimes. The Mariners I'm not going to go back and look through every box score, but they've probably won some games where the expected batting average was not in their favor and they pulled it out. That's baseball. It's not always, listen, I'm a stats guy. I'm a, advanced analytics guy, but it's not always played on a spreadsheet either. If it was, it'd be a lot more boring. And that's what makes this game special. Unfortunately, just wasn't special for the Mariners tonight. They lose 2-0. Let's get into it. Let's start with the pitching. I thought Logan Gilbert threw the ball really well against a really good lineup. 5 2/3, 5 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned, 4 walks, 2 Ks. The walks were, one of the walks I think was intentional, Corey Seager. The only walks that were kind of he walked Garver and Taveras in the 6th. He had Leotis Taveras 0-2. Would have been nice to put him away and get through 6 there. That was a little frustrating. But Brash and Topa came in and did their jobs. The 2 runs that Logan gave up were, on a Mitch Garver little single that had an exit velo of 65 with a 0.60 expected batting average. I know some people are getting on Ty France for that one, but I think Ty was shaded a little bit because they're expecting Garver to pull. I don't know if he could have gotten to that. I mean, maybe a faster player does, of course, but that's just kind of an unfortunate baseball break. Jonah Heim, after a walk to Garcia, and he steals second, a 63.2 exit velo bloop for Jonah Heim falls in, and that was the 2 runs. The Mariners had a little bad luck at the plate. Dylan Moore's double, that close to going over the fence. That's a home run in Seattle. It's a home run in 21 ballparks. Cal Raleigh hit a line drive into the gap that Taveras caught. Now, listen, Taveras made a great play on it, and that's why defense matters. That would have been out at 16 ballparks. 101 exit velo would have been out in Seattle. So, certainly some frustrating things, but here's the thing with that. The Mariners got some bad luck, but did they deserve to win? I didn't think so. I didn't come away with this game going, man, that team deserved a W tonight. They did. There are some games I watched throughout the season where, you lose 7-6, 6-5, and there's just bad luck happening, and you go, they probably deserve to win that one. It happens. This was not one of them. I didn't walk away from this game thinking they deserved a W. Here's the thing, and I say this a lot. Bad luck doesn't mean you're good. Good luck doesn't mean you're bad. The Rangers got a little lucky tonight. They're still a really good baseball team. The Mariners got unlucky. They're not playing great baseball right now. And that's what's unfortunate. They mixed bad luck and playing bad. And that's a bad combo, as the title of the video says. You can play good baseball, get bad luck, and find a way to win. You can play good baseball, get good luck, and really find ways to win. You can play good luck, bad baseball, and win. But you can't have both of those together. I was like, which combo did I forget there? And that's what the Mariners did today. That is 100% what they did. The lineup. JP, Julio, and Teo have got to be better. I'm not going to get on JP too much, and I know Julio had the double, but then he gets erased at third on a ball hit to short. You can't do that. You can't go to third there on that double in the first inning. I know it likely wouldn't have mattered because Cal ended up popping out anyways, but maybe Cal's approach is different in that at-bat with Julio at second. Maybe the defense is shifted differently, so you never know what can happen. This team has had too many base running errors. Too many. That's on the coaching. That's on the players. Teo's got to be better. Cal did have that drive into the gap, but 0 for 4. Gino had one sort of hard line drive, 0 for 4. Gino has got to be better. There's 8 games left. He's got to find a way to do something. To Ty's credit, Ty was 2 for 4. I mean, it wasn't Ty's fault today. He did almost have an error in that play in the 7th that Caballero made a great play on. Dylan Moore was 1 for 3. He did have a ringing double. I mean, it happened. Kelenic pinched hit. He walked. I'll talk about that in a minute. Haggerty 0 for 3 with a walk. Cabby 0 for 3. Terenz 0 for 1. I will say there, Terenz, a fitting end to the game. His line out, ground out was hit 104 off the bat. Just a fitting way to end it with a solid line drive hit by Luis Terenz and just to end it. And then there was even a one in the 4th inning that Caballero just missed a line drive down the line that could have scored a couple. So there was definitely some frustrating moments, but they didn't play good either. They did not deserve to win. 6 hits, only 3 walks. Jordan Montgomery threw the ball well for Texas, no doubt. I thought he could have gotten a couple runs, but this one was frustrating because the pitching did their job. Texas only scoring 2 runs is great. That's a good lineup. That is a really good lineup. You should be able to win that baseball game, and they didn't. They didn't have to have an offensive explosion tonight. They didn't. They just needed 3. They just needed 3, and they couldn't get it. I know pregame there was some frustration about Jared Kelenic not being in the lineup. I agree. I think Jared Kelenic should have been in the lineup. I would have probably put him in over Haggerty. I want to be clear, I would have still played Dylan Moore and Ty France. Against a lefty, they are 2 of your best 9 options right now. And you can say, Jay, you're crazy. There's just not a lot of great, and this is something that needs to be addressed in the offseason. Right now, I'm sorry, I don't think playing Mike Ford against a lefty at first is the better option. You're getting a downgrade defensively, and I don't think Ford against a lefty is the way to go. Against righties, I think you should be playing Mike Ford at first base. Dylan Moore against lefties is still one of your best 9. It's one of your best 9. You've got to hope he finds a way. Man, this team misses Tom Murphy. I'll say that every day till I'm blue in the face, but man, they miss Tom Murphy. Could you imagine? Because what they could have done today, Murphy catches, Cal DHs, Teo's in right field, Dylan Moore's in left field, or Kelenic. That's about as good as you can get. It's about as good as you can do. But that lineup looks so much better with Murphy, and that's a real shame. A real shame about that injury, because that might be one that costs them when it's all said and done here. So I would have had Kelenic start, but Haggerty swung the bat pretty well against lefties in September. Kelenic is coming off the broken foot. I hate saying it. On September 23rd with 8 games left that he needs a day off. But had he played today and he's going to play tomorrow, it would have been 5 games in a row. He may still need a break in there. No pun intended there, but he may still need a breather. I know that sounds weak and whatever, but it is what it is. That may be the case. And I don't know. And I like Jared Kelenic a lot. He's a solid player. He should be playing every day for this team down the stretch. No doubt. He is one of their best 9 players. But I think sometimes I see it on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, that Kelenic's getting treated like he's Ronald Acuna and Mookie Betts, and they took him out of the lineup today. 762 OPS is solid. I will say a lot of that's in April. I think Kelenic has, 1 home run since April? A lot of that's April. And April counts. April counts. That should not be dismissed. You don't get to just take away players' best months and do that. But I don't know if you're at the point where Kelenic being in and out is just that big of a difference, then you're not in a great position anyways. Like I said that on Twitter about people wanting Mike Ford in there over France. If this season comes down to Mike Ford should have played more against lefties than Ty France, you weren't going to get in anyways. Gino, Teo, Cal, Julio, JP have all got to have better games. All of them. Gino, I don't know if I said Gino. Ty did today. It would be nice if Ty could have some extra base hits, but I can't complain too much about a guy that hit 500 today with 2 singles, and one of his outs was pretty hard hit line drive as well. You have to, it can't just be, this team right now is not just Jared Kelenic away from getting these games, if that makes sense. It would have helped. I would have put, Kelenic should have started 100%, even over Dylan Moore to an extent, if you want to argue that. But, D Moore kind of did his thing today. Maybe, okay, well, D Moore, whatever, should play first. Kelnic's in the outfield. Well, Ty France had 2 hits today. So, I don't know if that would have necessarily made a difference. Overall, just the team is not playing good baseball here. And again, struggling to beat good teams. The MO of this team this year has just been not being able to beat the good teams. They sweep Oakland, which is great, but they sandwich that in between getting swept by Texas and getting swept by the Dodgers. I'm not asking this team to go 5-1 against the Dodgers and Rangers. I'm not. But could you go 2-4? Could you do that? Could you give me 1 win here, 1 win there? Well, what difference does that make? That's the difference between them being in the playoffs or not. That's the difference between maybe being tied with Texas and tomorrow's game being for the division lead. That's a big difference. That's a huge difference. They just have had no, and I know they beat the Rays in a series earlier. They beat the Giants, and if you want to call the Giants good. I'm not saying they've lost every game against good teams, but my gosh, they have had zero ability. And again, I'm not even talking about winning series, just winning a game against some of these teams. And they just haven't been able to do it. And if they miss the playoffs, it's one of the reasons why. It is certainly one of the reasons why. Now, they've kind of made up for it by just destroying Oakland and the Angels to an extent. But you've got to have more than that. You've got to at least be competitive with these good teams. And they've been competitive game-wise, but overall picture, they just haven't. They've lost too many games. They're 0-5 in Texas this year. Except for the Astros. The Mariners have somehow been able to, and it's funny that they figure out how to win in Minute Maid Park this year, and then they go to Globe Life and they can't win. 0-5 in that ballpark this year. If they were 1-4 in Texas this year, they'd be tied. We'd be okay. It's amazing how just 1 or 2 wins can make the difference. And when it's this close, that's what it comes down to. And guys, I'm not going to lie. I have, if there's any hope of winning the AL West, you have to win tomorrow. You have to. To be 3 games back in the Rangers, I mean, I guess to an extent it doesn't really matter because you're going to have to sweep Texas regardless, right? I mean, I guess if you win tomorrow 2 back, you could win the series, but then you got to hope you get the tiebreaker, which you can't get. So you have no tiebreaker. They have to sweep Texas. So I guess tomorrow really doesn't matter to an extent. I mean, it will for the wild card, but if you're 2 back at Texas, beating them 3 out of 4 is not going to win you the division because you're not going to have the tiebreaker. Unless the Angels somehow sweep the Rangers and you win 2 out of 3 from the the Astros. I shouldn't go this far into it. Bottom line, I think if you lose tomorrow, I think the division is gone. I do. I really do. Because I think Texas wins at least 2 out of 3 in Anaheim. So I think if you want any chance of winning the AL West, you have to win tomorrow. Some people ask, should they start Luis Castillo tomorrow? And this is going to sound so defeatist. No, I wouldn't. I would just send Brian Wu out there and hope you find a way. At this point where they're at, and with Houston losing again to Kansas City tonight, you're essentially tied with Houston. You're a half game back, but you play that half game. Save Castillo for Houston. Honest to Pete, I would not send him out there tomorrow. It's not worth it. Let Brian Wu take that game. Hopefully finds a way. You hope you win it. You hope maybe by some miracle you pull it out. But I wouldn't. I'd feel like you're wasting Castillo. Save him for Houston. The Houston series is now more valuable. It is. Even if Houston wins tomorrow and you lose, you've got a chance you win 2 out of 3 there to get that game and have that tiebreaker to beat them and to win that wild card spot. Toronto loses 2, your game and a half back there. Still matters because you have the tiebreaker with the Jays. So I would not start Castillo tomorrow. And maybe that's defeatist, and it probably is. But guys, I just don't see them winning tomorrow. I don't see them winning with Castillo on the mound. I just don't. They cannot solve this team in Texas. And I don't want to send Castillo out there and have them lose. And then you go home and Brian Wu struggles against the Astros. You cross your fingers that Wu against a lineup that is, I guess it's kind of lefty. It seems fairly right-handed heavy. Simeon's a righty, Seager lefty, Lowe's a lefty, Young righty, Garcia righty, Heim switch, Garver righty. I know they've got other guys that can play, but hopefully Brian Wu does something tomorrow and save Castillo. I would. I'm sorry. That's just my take on it. I would have Castillo pitch against Houston. And that's super defeatist, and I'm not trying to be that way, but your best odds right now are the wild card. And get in and hope you can do something. I do think the Mariners can compete with Texas. I do. I don't think they're like that much behind the Rangers necessarily, but they just have not figured out how to beat them. Now, I know a lot of people comment on videos about Scott, and I want to give a little bit of a take on it and my thoughts on it, and then I'll get out of here and let you guys go. Thank you if you're still watching. I'm not going to get into it too much right now. I want to wait for the season to be over because right now feels really low. It's a low point in the year, and I feel like we've had a lot of those in September. But I want to wait, see what happens. Because if they get in and go on a run here, then it does change my thoughts on it a little bit. I like Scott's service. I think he's a good manager. I think he's done a great job in the clubhouse. I think he's done a lot of good things for this organization. I think there's some head scratching in-game decisions. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't think those matter as much as people think they do. I think talent wins. I think at the end of the day, the most talented teams win games. And I think the players got to play regardless. I mean, it's not like Scott's taking, Logan Gilbert out and putting me in there at relief. Players have got to execute. If you want to be mad at Scott, I'd lean some frustrations toward Jerry and Justin. And listen, I made a video and I said this team had a good offseason. So if you want to go blast that video, it's still up there, go for it. I mean, the only thing I can say in my defense is I don't work for this team, so it's not my fault. And I do think they were a little unlucky with Colton Wong being so bad and some other things. But I think talent wins. I think a manager's job is to keep that clubhouse together, keep them playing hard. And I think Scott's done that for the most part. With that said, if this team does miss the playoffs, I think there's a conversation to be had. I think it is fair to bring it up, and I think it's fair to discuss if Scott is the guy to put this team over the top. I think a conversation's fair to be had about Jerry and Justin. I don't think they're going to go anywhere. And I'm actually not advocating for anybody to be fired necessarily, but I think it is a fair conversation to be had if this team misses the playoffs. And my gosh, if they do, you've got to do something this offseason. You cannot just sit back, try to make some trades. I'm all for trades. You can do that and try to get this team better. You've got to go out there and make a splash and get somebody. And I'm usually not that way, but the way looking how this season is unfolding, I think you have to. I absolutely think you have to. Because the core of this team is good. Julio, Cal, JP, Logan, George, Luis. Who am I missing? Even Bryce Miller, Brian Wu have shown a ton of promise. Robbie Ray, hopefully back summertime next year. And I'm probably forgetting some people, but Munoz, Brash, in the bullpen, although bullpen arms are always so hard to year, but you've got to get a piece to put this team over the top. You've got to. Now, again, I will address that way more when the season's over. I will have a season-ending video, and we'll talk about that stuff. Right now, listen, you're a half game back of Houston, who has decided to go 1-80 against Oakland and Kansas City. Get ready for that series. Gear up and hope you win tomorrow. If you want any chance at the West, I think they got to win tomorrow. If not, I think the West is out of the graps, out of your reach. Unless the Angels somehow sweep Texas and you sweep them, which you never know, but I don't see that happening. So that's all I've got for tonight, guys. Enjoy your Saturday. Frustrating. How come every weekend this team does this? I just want a weekend where the Seahawks win and the Mariners win. Didn't happen in week one. The Mariners were getting blasted by the Rays while the Seahawks lost to the Rams. Last week, the Seahawks did win, but the Mariners couldn't beat the Dodgers. And then tomorrow, can the Seahawks just dominate a win? Give me something. I'm sure they'll find a way to make it close. And then we'll see what the Mariners do. Have a great night, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys all tomorrow for double postgame. Go Mariners. Take care, everybody. Thank goodness Houston has decided to play. Gosh, the Mariners could be like 6 games up if they just would have done something. I guess Houston could say that too. Have a good night, everybody. Go Mariners.